have the great honor of introducing the one, the only, Mr. Mickey Mouse.
Oh, no. Hello, hi there. Welcome to my park. How you doing? Hello.
Whoa.
What?
You are not Mickey Mouse, you're a rat.
Rat schmat. Besides, they're tourists. What do they know?
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 335 for the week of September 8th, 2013. I'm here to help you have the best possible Disney vacation experience and bring you a little bit of Disney magic to wherever you are with this podcast, my new Disney in a Minute videos, blog, live broadcasts, special events, my Walt Disney World trivia books, audio tour CDs, and more. You can find it all over at WDWRadio.com. This week, we're going to celebrate Mickey Mouse's upcoming 85th birthday and discuss how November 18th became his official birth date. We'll also look at the history of Mickey in the parks, dating back to Disneyland, and then explore and seek out Mickey Mouse in Walt Disney World. From extinct attractions and character appearances to where Mickey can be found in the parks today, we'll also discuss the future of Mickey in the Disney parks and ask you to play Armchair Imagineer and design your own Mickey Mouse attraction. I'll then have the answer to our last Walt Disney World trivia question of the week and pose a new challenge for your chance to win a Disney prize package. Then stay tuned to the end of the show. I'll have some updates and announcements, including more information about upcoming special events, including our e-ticket weekend scavenger hunt and much more. I'll then have more of your voicemails at the end of the show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. Fall in Walt Disney World means it's time to enjoy some of the many things and events that happen only during this time of year. There's Halloween and Thanksgiving, and my favorite holiday is the Epcot Food and Wine Festival, and so many other things to celebrate, including birthdays, like Mickey Mouse's, right? We all know that his birthday is November 18th, and this year he's celebrating his 85th on that day. Or is he? We'll answer that question and pose a few more as we talk not just about Mickey's birthday, but also take a close look at Mickey Mouse in Walt Disney World. And joining me this week is a man who loves a good birthday party and cake. He has worn his fair share of Mickey ears and misses the Birthdayland Express. He is author, historian, magician, and possibly the star of the next Avengers film. He is Jim Korkis.
Well, thank you, Lou. Don't set the bar too high there for me to do that. I wish I could be there in person with you, but again, as you said, you brought up Mickey's birthday, and just like so many of your listeners, I'm decorating the house and putting up the decorations for Mickey's birthday on September 28th.
Right. So, Jim, we're going to start off this week by letting you literally crush my daughter and her parents. Because my daughter, we celebrated her birth when she was born on November 18th, Mickey's birthday. Literally, within minutes after she was born, she was holding a small Mickey Mouse plush doll. It was as if she had planned it. She waited until that time to share her birthday with Mickey Mouse. And now you are going to summarily crush my daughter's basically her entire life and the lie that she's been living all these years.
It's just
I don't want no
basically
pressure.
because
No pressure on
I'm
me.
a mean, vicious person. You know, we've only been celebrating November 18th as Mickey's official birthday for roughly about 35 years. Because it was Dave Smith at the Disney Archives who came and said, "This is Mickey's official birthday. This is the day it was shown at the Colony Theater, in New York, which now is called the Broadway Theater, and they even do stage plays in there now. But November 18th is the official birthday. But we've only been doing that for 35 years. And Dave had to come up with that because 1978 was Mickey's 50th birthday, and there was going to be all of these events. Ward Kimball was going to be on a train that would go cross country from California to the Broadway Theater and make 27 whistle stops, and there was a special logo and all that. So it was very important for Disney and Disney merchandising to have a specific date for that to happen. But for the previous 50 years, Mickey's birthday was usually celebrated on September 28th.
But let's really quickly, let's just, Jim, so people know, let's tell people why November 18th was chosen, right? That was not sort of an arbitrary date.
Right. That's
that was
when
Mickey's...
Steamboat Willie was shown at the Colony Theater. And it was, believe it or not, an afternoon show. So when you want to officially celebrate Mickey's birthday, it should be noon, roughly noon, Eastern Standard Time on November 18th. That's when Steamboat Willie, and so Dave's contention was that even though there were other films like Plain Crazy and Galloping Gaucho that had been made before and all of this was the first time that Mickey was really shown to the general public. And this is the first time you get reviews in Variety and the trade papers and all of that. So Mickey Mouse becomes, this immediate popular cartoon character. And so November 18th is considered. And Dave went back and found a program, from November 18th, and he looked at the reviews that said, yesterday at the Colony Theater they had and it was just a delight, a wonderful novelty. So November 18th was that, and he said, this is the thing that makes sense. Now, of the Fab Five, there are only 3 characters that officially celebrate birthdays, and that's Mickey and Minnie, because it's also Minnie's birthday, November 18th, and we don't talk about a woman's age, but she's comparable to Mickey there, and Donald Duck, who appeared in Wise Little Hen. Dave said, there were so many evolutions of Dippy Dog Goofy that you can't point at one, and the same thing with Pluto. Everybody points at the black and white Mickey cartoon Chain Gang and says, well, those bloodhounds there, that's Pluto. And you take a look at that and you squint and you turn your head and you go, well, it's a dog, And then the next time he appears, he's called Rover and he's Minnie's dog. So, only 3 of the characters of the Fab Five have an official birthday, and Mickey and Minnie's official birthday is because that's when Steamboat Willie was released to the general public.
So let me ask you, Jim Korkis, what do you, if you were the man in charge of deciding when Mickey's birthday should be, is the 18th the appropriate day, or do you think there's another one that you think
I think it should be my birthday, August 15th. I'm sure on August 15th, Walt and Ub were talking about Mickey Mouse at some point, so that's the true beginning. No, I think November 18th makes the most sense because there was so much. What do I want to say? It was ambivalent. It was ambiguous. There was no documentation. Walt came back from New York in late March 1928. So on the train ride, is that considered the official birth of
That's
Mickey?
what I was going to ask. Like, if we knew the date of the train ride, we could almost sort of put it there, but
then again, you're going into the thing of, with research today, they say that Walt may have come up with the idea of a mouse, but it really wasn't the Mickey Mouse that we know today. It was after he got off the train, and he was talking with his brother and talking with Ub Iwerks. And Ub Iwerks, in a 1956 interview with Disney, that Disney recorded, was talking about, Walt came off the train. He said, well, we probably shouldn't do cats. There are too many cats out there, or dogs. And he says, we were looking through magazines, Life magazine and Judge magazine, which no longer exists, but they all had cartoons in them. And there was a artist by the name of Meek, M-E-E-K, who drew mice. But the mice were in little frilly white shorts and, black knicker pants and all that, and they had two-tone ears. But if you take a look at the very first sheet where Ub Iwerks was drawing Mickey Mouse, there's 6 images of Mickey Mouse. The Walt Disney Family Museum has this now, and it was locked away in a safe for decades, literally, at Disney. And this is considered the very first sheet where Iwerks was drawing mice. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, there's a Mickey Mouse that looks very much like these drawings that Meek did of mice, and we consider it today the Little Lord Fauntleroy Mickey, because that was the type of outfit that young children would wear, at that time. But by golly, so was it on the train? Was it when Ub Iwerks finally did it? Was it when he did the very first drawing for Plain Crazy? Is it the date that Walt trademarked Mickey Mouse? There's all sorts of options, and of course the Disney company took advantage of that. So for the first 50 years, almost any date between September and the end of November was considered Mickey's birthday if it happened to fall on a weekend,
Right.
where in the theater you could host a Mickey Mouse birthday party. You could rent multiple Mickey Mouse cartoons from the Disney company to run, Now, most often, the date was September 28th, and in fact, there's newspaper articles where Walt says, yes, Mickey's birthday is September 28th, because that's when we started the first drawing of him. But Walt would say these things all the time, just to
Right.
do this. In fact, Mickey's 7th birthday, his lucky birthday, was celebrated over 4 days, and from September 28th to October 1st. And so there were even adult parties, held in New York in nightclubs and things like that, and there was a radio broadcast and stuff like that. October 1st was often celebrated as Mickey's birthday. Maybe, and I would hate to have that then, because then that messes with Magic Kingdom's birthday and Epcot's birthday and all of that. But yeah, for 50 years, Mickey's birthday was all over the map, but as I said, most frequently it was considered September 28th, and you would see that in magazine articles, you would see that in books, and it was thanks to Dave Smith, who did many, many things, and I think we forget how many significant contributions he's made to Disney history, who sat down and said, well, let's make sense of this. What really makes sense about how and when Mickey was born? And it really just seems to make sense that the debut of Steamboat Willie, that was it. So November 18th. So yes, your daughter can still hug her little plush Mickey and dream dreams of that, because that is his birthday now. Whatever. It's like an actor changing his name. We don't remember Archibald Leach, but we remember Cary Grant,
Right.
And he'll always be Cary Grant. No person watches Charade or North by Northwest and go, oh, that's Archie Leach there.
Well, more importantly, you're saving me from years of paid psychotherapy for my daughter that I've been lying to about her birthday, sharing it with Mickey all these years. So what I want to do, Jim, is I want to, before we talk about Mickey in the parks today, I want to sort of continue on in the genesis of Mickey sort of having a physical presence, not necessarily in Walt Disney World, because obviously it started back, not with Disneyland, but with this idea of this Mickey Mouse park.
Yes. And, we were talking November 18th being the birthday. Within the first year, 2-3 years, it was like lightning striking. Mickey was more popular than I think any other character or any other star was in a short amount of time. And even during those first 2 or 3 years, people were writing that they wanted to come to the Disney studio to meet Mickey Mouse. The Disney Archives actually has a letter from silent screen actress Mary Pickford that says, "Oh, I'll be dropping by the Disney studio. Make sure Mickey is available to say hello." And it's like, what is this woman thinking? And so Walt was thinking, we've got to come up with something. At the studio, the first thing he did, like 1932, is he had a garage where he had 2 cars. They were 1931 Austin sedans, which were like mini cars, little mini cars, and they were very popular with celebrities. Only a certain number were made, but Walt got them. He put a Mickey sticker on the side, and then over the garage doors, there were 2 doors, he had a triangular sign. One said Mickey and one said Minnie. So if kids showed up or somebody showed up, Walt could say, "Oh, you just missed him. Obviously he lives here. Here's his garage. Here's his cars. He's out right now. He probably won't be back until much later or tomorrow." And until one little 6-year-old girl goes, "He didn't go to the store." And Walt says, "No, yes, of course he did. He needed some cheese and all." She said, "How come he didn't take his car?" And Walt, being the great storyteller that he is, goes, "Well, all that cheese that Mickey eats puts on a little weight, and so the doctor says he has to walk to the store across town if he's going to buy cheese so that he can, burn off some of those calories." And so when Walt moved into Burbank, he realized, I've got to have something because these requests are still coming in. And so right across the street, Riverside Drive, he was going to have a little Mickey Mouse Park, which was about 8 acres. There was a blank spot of land over there, a little sort of triangular piece. And there would be a small train, there'd be a waterfall, there'd be a little western town and all that. But he was going to have statues of Mickey Mouse and the other Disney characters so that people could come over and get their pictures taken. And, of course, as we know, Burbank didn't want that in Burbank. They thought it was a carnival and it would bring in the type of people that go to carnivals, and they don't want that, which was great because then Walt thought bigger and you got Anaheim. But now that you've got Disneyland, you've got Roy O. Disney, Walt's brother, stepping in and going, "Okay, I'm going to help you get this started, but we have to be very careful from a business sense because this could crash and burn. So we don't want you to use the top line characters like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all of that in the park, because if the park collapses, that ruins the brand. So really don't do that." So Walt said, "Okay, but I'm putting Mickey in the front." And the floral Mickey is in the front of the Disney park because that resembled the title card on the Mickey Mouse cartoon. Some of you remember that, where Mickey's face is there and you have the yellow sunbeams in the back and all of that. That's why there's a floral Mickey. Is it's supposed to be the title card of what you're going to see. You're going to see a Disney production. And when people saw the Mickey title card in theaters, they cheered and all of this. And so that's what you're going to have. But once you got into Disneyland, other than Mickey on some pieces of merchandise, Mickey didn't exist. You know, even though Mickey was there on opening day in a costume borrowed from the Ice Capades, that was it. That was a one-day shot. Mickey Mouse wasn't there walking around for you to greet and all that until about 1961. So you've got about 5 or 6 years before you've got to walk around Mickey in the park. And because they didn't want to tie the park too closely in with Mickey Mouse because Disneyland may collapse and burn, there's no Mickey attraction. There's no Mickey Mouse attraction in Fantasyland. Now, there's a theater in Fantasyland. The Fantasyland Theater there would show in a continuous loop 3 or 4 Mickey Mouse cartoons. One of them was a band concert. But even the Main Street Cinema didn't show Mickey Mouse cartoons. They showed silent live action movies. The only cartoon they showed was Gertie the Dinosaur. That was it. In 1978, to celebrate Mickey's 50th, that's when the Main Street Cinema converted so that all 6 of its screens showed Mickey Mouse cartoons. So the early years of Disneyland, you go in there and where's Mickey Mouse? And, you know, this is what people want to see is Mickey Mouse. So you really have to wait until 1971 to have any permanent physical location where you have Mickey Mouse. And that was, of course, with the opening of Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom. And the attraction I'm talking about is what, Lou?
It's one of the ones, Jim, that you know, when people talk about extinct attractions, their mind normally goes to Horizons, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the Skyway. For a lot of people, especially who are, you know, Disney character fans, and for me as a kid who was there very early on in 1971, I think about the Mickey Mouse Revue, right? I remember seeing, and what struck me about it was this audio animatronic Mickey Mouse, right? It was an E-ticket, literally it was an E-ticket. It was later a D-ticket attraction. But in the pre-show area, you saw these images of Mickey through the years. But when you stepped into the theater and this Maestro Mickey comes out and leads this orchestra of 60 characters, and there's Snow White and Alice, and I remember not knowing who Brer Fox and Brer Bear were at that point, and the 3 Caballeros. But that was, you know, you think about early Walt Disney World and things like Fantasyland, you know, for me and for a lot of people, I think, you know, that was it. That is where you saw Mickey in the Magic Kingdom.
Well, and you know, even today there are people who don't know who Brer Fox is and the 3 Caballeros and all that. And that Mickey figure was the most complicated audio animatronics figure ever built up to that point. He stood about I think it was about 42 inches high, but I know he had 33 different functions. And Bill Justice, the Disney legend Bill Justice, is the one who designed that attraction, designed Mickey, and programmed Mickey. And, you know, Bill said it almost sent him, you know, running to an insane asylum because, you know, you have Mickey conducting, but in those days, too, there's limits to audio animatronics. So, you know, getting the hand up in the air high enough and then dropping immediately to keep in rhythm with the music was a living nightmare. But the interesting thing is Bill did this because he said, you know, it's our characters. People want to come and see our characters, and there's no place where they're guaranteed to see the characters, especially Mickey Mouse. We've got to start with Mickey Mouse. So, you know, he cut out paper, literally, to create a little model. And Roy O. Disney, Walt's brother, looked at it and he says, this is what we should be spending our money on. And so Mickey Mouse Revue was supposed to be the signature attraction for Magic Kingdom. That when you thought about Magic Kingdom, when you thought about Florida, that was the attraction that you wanted to see. It turned out that Country Bears was the one that took the spotlight, but the intention was, my gosh, this is Mickey. And Mickey Mouse Revue just sort of faded away, and we really didn't get a chance to say, goodbye to it. It just sort of ran off with a Japanese boyfriend for a couple of years. So it's like, oh, you broke our heart. You broke our heart, but we know you're, in another country and you're still surviving. And of course that, finally closed as well. But yes, that was the very first Mickey Mouse attraction in a Disney park, and it was the very first place where you could be guaranteed to see a Mickey figure.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it went away sort of unceremoniously, obviously because there were not discussion forums and Facebooks that people could go out and complain about it. And it was only there for, about less than 9 years, right? So there was no sort of emotional attachment to that attraction. I know a lot of people, when it closed in Tokyo in, I guess it was around May of 2009, also to be replaced by PhilharMagic. Some people had speculated, we're in this sort of sense of nostalgia in the Disney parks right now. Are they going to bring this attraction back, right? Box him up, crate him, ship him back over, and bring him back to the Fantasyland Theater. That obviously did not happen. I don't know if it could happen, because trying to bring back a show that at the point was, nearly 40 years old, the sense of nostalgia might have worn off very quickly, and people would have wanted something a little bit more high tech, right? And again, because there wasn't that sort of, not that emotional connection to the specific attraction itself.
Well, but again, actually there were 3 figures that were saved. Epcot paid money to save the 3 Caballeros. There were several 3 Caballeros sets in there, but they saved one of the sets. Imagineering had quoted a price, but then Imagineering, those son of a guns, when they grabbed the characters and cleaned them and packed them, they said, "Oh, but we forgot to charge you for shipping and handling," and because what was going to happen was Epcot was going to install them at the end of the Mexico Pavilion ride. And because everybody complained that the finale wasn't as impressive as it could have been, but it would have been impressive. You've got these 3 audio animatronic figures there. But what happened is Imagineering, again, it has a high overhead, kept adding on additional costs. And so the money that they had to install the figures were used paying Imagineering. So these are wrapped up safely. They're backstage at Epcot, waiting to be installed. And of course, the little Tinkerbell, not the Tinkerbell figure. Yes, Tinkerbell figure? No, or Alice, the Alice figure. Alice figure in Mickey Mouse Revue was used by Tony Baxter. He put a motor in it and transformed it into Tinkerbell. So just like a remote control radio car or whatever, you could have Tinkerbell fly down the parade route. And they actually did that several times at night, when the park was empty, to see how that worked. And the reason we don't have that today is because legal stepped in and said, if you get the electrical, the radio waves jammed or whatever, and this 18-pound figure, crashes to the floor, this is not good. And if it crashes on a guest, that's even worse. You can't do that. But Mickey Mouse Revue was going to give us a Tinkerbell that flew down, in front of the parade and went around the parade floats and.
Yeah, and I had actually heard, and I can neither confirm nor deny, but I had heard that because, and look, we forget, Jim, that it does cost money to create these figures and ship them and store them. What I had understood was that it was actually less expensive. It was more cost effective, other than to save a couple of figures here and there. And from what I understand, Mickey was one that was saved too. It was more cost effective to destroy the figures in Tokyo than it was to ship them back here and store them and whatnot. So we will probably never ever see those figures again. But I want to sort of. And
that's a nice cheery note.
Well,
I'm always glad to be on Walt Disney WDW radio here, where it's always so positive. Yes, They were destroyed.
Well, it's sad,
They
right?
were cannibalized, and we will never, ever see them again.
I don't know if I put it that way, but listen, we're going to come full circle. It's okay, right? It's okay because we lost Mickey Mouse Review. Eventually things come full circle and we get Philhar Magic. We'll talk about that in a little while, but I want to stay in the past just a little bit because you talked about how in 1971, this was the only place in the park that you were guaranteed to see Mickey, right? And it almost doesn't make sense because you think, I want to go to Disney World, I want to go see Mickey Mouse, and people walk in and you know where to find Cinderella, she's got her castle, you know where to find this princess, you know where to find these characters, but there is no place to find Mickey Mouse, and it takes, more than a decade, almost 2 decades before it almost sort of prompts them to do something like the creation of Birthday Land, right? The creation of Birthday Land was part of that, solving that dilemma, right? They couldn't find Mickey in the parks, and also it's a place to give him a more permanent home and obviously generate a little bit of revenue at the same time. So, although Mickey's birthday was a couple of months off, it wasn't until the summer of 1988 that they realized, hey, November 18th, according to Dave Smith, is his birthday. We need to do something for Mickey. And oh, by the way, guys, you've got 3 months to get it done. Go out and build us, Birthday Land. And,
a lot of this is due to Michael Eisner. Again, Michael Eisner, I think, doesn't get enough credit for some of the things that he did, especially in the beginning of his term there. He had been on board maybe 4 years at this point, and he's taking a look, and the most frequently asked question at a Disney theme park was not, when's the 3 o'clock parade? The most frequently asked question by a huge margin is, where is Mickey Mouse? Where can I see Mickey Mouse? And what they had done, and Walt had started this in 1961, is, well, Mickey and the gang live at the park, so you don't know when you're going to see them. They may be wandering around. Usually they're in Fantasyland, but not always. And it was just serendipity. It was just just that little extra magic. So there was no time schedule. You didn't know, and oftentimes in the early days of character walk-arounds, you didn't know who was going to show up for work that day. So which character was going to be available. So Michael Eisner took a look of, look how that 50th took off. We're going to times that by 10 or times that by 100 for Mickey's 60th birthday in 1988. And they did. They did a tremendous amount of things. But one of the things that Eisner says is we've got to have a person, if we're publicizing Mickey's birthday, we've got to have a place where people can come in and, by golly, get a picture, get an autograph, and they're guaranteed that. And so, yes, so you've got Mickey's Birthday Land. And again, as you said, it came up, just in a couple of months. This is not an Imagineering project. This really is, let's get operations in here and all this, and we'll put up a couple of facades. People don't realize that Donald's boat in Mickey's Birthday Land was a facade. It wasn't something that you could go in. And there was a facade for Duckburg because DuckTales were on TV. And so you're doing that cross-promotion. And nobody was quite sure, where does Mickey live? Does Mickey live in Hollywood? Does he live in Burbank? Does he live in Mouseville? So we'll just stick Duckburg there. But you had Mickey's house, and Mickey's house looked completely different than the one that ended up in Toontown at Disneyland and the one that ended up at Toontown Fair. But it had that same basic concept as you were going through Mickey's house, and you could, then when you went outside, there was this building set up so that you could go in and you would see a show, Mickey's Birthday Party, where Minnie is planning the surprise birthday party for Mickey and all of that, and so you're all in there and you're singing along and you're cheering and you get to wish Mickey a happy birthday, for crying out loud. And then after the party, you can go out and there's different little rooms and you can go in and you can see Mickey, which was a tremendously clever idea, which is still used, to this day. You go into a separate area, and into different rooms you can meet Mickey.
Yeah, and again, I'll link in the show notes to where we had actually talked about Mickey's Toontown Fair. I still have an audio guide where you can learn sort of all about the history and sort of a virtual walkthrough of Mickey's Toontown Fair and how that sort of progressed over time to Starland and the Toontown, and then obviously it's Storybook Circus now. But again, there's one other thing too, because again, in the 70s and even in the early 80s, right, when Epcot Center first opened, there was this idea that it was going to be a very different and distinct park and experience than what you had in the Magic Kingdom. And one of the things that was noticeably absent, once again, were characters, specifically Mickey Mouse, right? Eisner said he wanted to originally they wanted to differentiate the park, and then Eisner was like, wait a minute, Mickey Mouse is our bread and butter. He needs to be present here. I'm sure we've all seen and or remember the images of Goofy and Mickey in their very futuristic rainbow, Buck Rogers spacesuit that we're all going to be wearing in 2013. But he wasn't there initially as well.
And there's a very funny story behind that. The whole point was, and Dick Nunes explained this, is that Epcot was supposed to not be in competition with the Magic Kingdom, but was supposed to be complementary to the Magic Kingdom. A different annex, a different experience. And so Mickey and his friends lived at the Magic Kingdom. And so that's what you were going to have, is Mickey and his friends living at the Magic Kingdom, so they wouldn't be at Epcot. And the whole concept was that each pavilion was going to have their own character. And the first that was developed, of course, was Dreamfinder and Figment, but there were plans in the works so that every pavilion in Future World was going to have its own character, and so you're going to create this whole new mythology. And yes, so Mickey was not at Epcot. And so when Michael Eisner was brought on board, 84, 85 there, he was walking in Epcot. And he was walking with Dick Nunes, and he was Dave Venables was Dave Venables is the one who told me this story. Dave Venables was in charge of the manager of guest relations at that particular point. And so they're walking through the park, and at one point, Michael Eisner turns to Nunes, and he goes, Dick, we've been here about 20 minutes, and I haven't seen Mickey. And Nunes then goes into that whole explanation of, well, this is a different experience than the Magic Kingdom, and da-da-da, and Mickey lives over at the Magic Kingdom. And Venables said, the look on Eisner's face was like from a Tex Avery cartoon, where the tongue falls out of the mouth and the eyes pop out. And Eisner just said, that stops as of now. And within 2 weeks, yes, you had Farmer Mickey in the land. You had Mickey in his kilts in over there in the UK. You had those Captain EO rainbow suits for Mickey and the rest. And because Eisner realized people came to the parks to see the characters. Now, how do you justify that if these characters are living over at the Magic Kingdom? And so basically what they came up with to cover all of this is that, yes, Mickey and the gang live at the Magic Kingdom. They are on vacation at Epcot visiting their friends around the world. That's why you had that big double-decker bus with the characters, and the characters would be on it and then come out for the meet and greet, and they had the suitcases on the side of the bus, because the characters are there visiting Snow White in Germany, visit all of that. That justifies why the characters are there at Epcot. And then at the studios, that's where the characters work. And then when you go to Animal Kingdom, they're on safari. That's why they're in all the safari gear and all of that, is they're on safari, and that whole jungle jingle parade there is because they're making their way through the jungle.
Right. And so let's sort of talk about then Mickey in the parks today. And there is only one Mickey. He does get around very quickly.
There's only one Mickey. And that's what Walt said too. A little girl wrote to him in the 30s and said, which is the real Mickey? I see Mickey everywhere, because there were a lot of homemade costumes. There were a lot of costumes that were made for promotions, even for the Mickey Mouse Club theaters events on the Saturday matinees. And Walt wrote back and he says, well, Mickey is like Santa Claus. You may see a lot of different ones, but there is only really one.
There's only one Mickey.
And the spirit of Mickey is in these others.
Right, and Mickey in Disney World, he's able to get himself from park to park very quickly. So if you're in Animal Kingdom, you used to see him over at Camp Mini Mickey. Now it's the Adventurers Outpost, right? Where you can sort of, which I like, and this is a separate topic, but I like because they want you to sort of get this feeling that you're going to share stories from all your expeditions around the world. And at Hollywood Studios, he throws on his Sorcerer Mickey outfit. You can see him over at Magic Disney Animation. In Epcot, he is now in the wonderfully air-conditioned, one of the coolest places on property, the character spot. But let's really talk about, let's sort of go back to the Magic Kingdom, right? Where you couldn't find him anywhere at first. Now he has his permanent home at the Town Square Exposition Hall. And the Mickey that we see there, that wonderful Mickey that we see there, celebrates Magician Mickey, right? It was sort of inspired by that 1937 film.
Right, yes. He's the performer Mickey, and he's the Mickey who was the magician in the 1930s, who would do magic shows and all that, just like Walt loved doing magic shows.
And this is one of my favorite locations because obviously it keeps with the theme of Main Street USA, but you really sort of get this sense that you're going backstage to meet Magician Mickey. The first time I went there, Jim, I looked at Mickey and Minnie and I said, I'd love you guys, but I'm really here to take pictures of all the cool details that the Imagineers put in here.
No, you and me both, and I think that is very wise on the Disney company's part. I wish they would do this more often, because this was part of Walt's philosophy, especially with Pirates of the Caribbean. Is it's loaded with so many things you can't absorb it all in one visit. You've got to keep coming back because there's little things just right around the corner or on the top or whatever. So, multiple visits to go do that. I miss having theater space in that building, but I think they did a magnificent job of theming the area and of and the room is so intimate that you really do feel you're having a one-on-one experience with Mickey. It's not like, well, here's this big warehouse, and here's a character, and 20 feet down there's another character, and 50 feet down there's another character, so work your way down the line. It really is. This is an intimate experience, and it really looks like Mickey's dressing room.
And what I like about this, too, and what I think we've seen a hint of this, a little sneak peek in the past, I think this is going to be one of these places, Jim, where, pardon the intentional pun, magic is really going to happen. Because as we start to see Mickey not just become more articulated, but be able to talk, and with the evolution of this next gen and My Magic Bands, when you're able to walk in there and Mickey knows your name or the name of your child and is able to interact with them on a much more intimate, personal level, that is going to change things in a way that I'm sure even Walt Disney himself never could have imagined. No.
And that will be I almost borderline scary to me. I guess the next step would be to have cloned Mickeys walking. You get DNA from somewhere, and you do that. But no, this is something that Walt never would have imagined. Because again, when you take a look at the early walk-around Mickey characters, they really are horrendous. Some of them are literally 6 feet tall.
Frightening. They were downright frightening.
Yeah, and again, up until 61, up until Walt jumped in and said, we've got to do these costumes ourselves, you're borrowing from the ice capades, and the costumes are designed, for an ice skater. So you have to have, the peripheral vision has to be light enough so that, and so they really aren't meant for a meet and greet type experience. And yet, as frightening as they were, kids would run up and hug them because this is Mickey and all this. And it has just, continually improved. During the 70s and the 80s, they experimented with having air conditioning units in the costume, but they found that just added too much to the weight of the costume, and it also, it seemed like Mickey had a goiter sticking out from his hip or something here. They also experimented with tape recorders and going through that, but the challenge that they ran into with that is tape recording, it's on a loop. So Mickey may say one thing, and then when somebody comes up to ask you another question, the next response may not match, what that person is going to say. And then again, you run into the situation that Mickey is an international icon. And so people have heard Mickey talk in their own language. It was like that experience Walt had when he went to Germany with Harry Teitel, who was the producer of the weekly Disney TV show. They were in Germany, and a couple of little kids recognized Walt and ran up to him and started chattering away. And Harry could speak a little bit of German, and he says, Mr. Disney is very, grateful that you're so excited, but he doesn't speak any German. And these kids froze and gave him a look as if knives were coming out of their eyes. And they go, "What do you mean he doesn't speak German? We see him on TV every week, and he speaks perfect German." And then they ran away. So, but I like the idea that Mickey can blink, because that's an animation concept that gives a sense of life. You don't notice it, but real people blink. And so in animation, one of the things that made Disney animation different is the characters would blink. And so there was that sense of life. And then that was translated into when they did audio animatronics, and it was great. And now you've got Mickey, and Mickey can blink, and he can open his mouth, and as you said, he can talk, for crying out loud. And he sounds like Mickey, for crying out loud. This is just amazing. Just amazing is what it is. And I think a lot of kids have not seen Mickey Mouse cartoons.
And that actually, that you must be reading my mind, because that's, when I start thinking about other places we can see him in the parks, I want to get over to PhilharMagic, because Jim, as a father of young kids, for many, many years, before the introduction of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on the Disney Channel, there was no real frame of reference for my kids to see Mickey Mouse, right? I would literally have to sort of make them sit down in front of the computer and watch YouTube videos of the old Mickey cartoons, or when I took them into Sir Mickey's and had to explain to them who Willie the Giant was and Brave Little Tailor, they had no concept because they had not seen Mickey in any context. PhilharMagic, for a lot of people, is and was kids' sort of introduction into seeing Mickey on screen, right? We won't sort of do a full-blown review or discussion of PhilharMagic, but as long as we're staying in the Magic Kingdom, and again, in the location where the Mickey Mouse Review once was, Mickey's PhilharMagic is sort of that embracing the classic, conductor Mickey in animated form.
Yes, but the grumble that I have, and I'm going to pull out my old man cane here again and wave it in the air. Those kids, get off of my lawn! I can't understand the lyrics to that
I'm
music.
literally, I'm going to buy you a cane, because every time you say this, I think
I'm going to wave that cane in the air again. I love Mickey Mouse. I'm a huge Mickey Mouse fan. But Mickey is only there at the beginning, and he's only there at the end. It's like some of the later Mickey cartoons in the 50s where Pluto takes over or Donald takes over. I want Mickey to be the star. I can't tell you how heartbroken I was when I was younger and I went and I saw Mickey's Christmas Carol, in the theater. That was, 83. And it's Mickey's Christmas Carol. but Scrooge is the star. Mickey is Bob Cratchit, and he's in just a couple of little scenes. And to show you how even Disney animators had lost touch with Mickey, in Mickey's Christmas Carol, Minnie does not say one word because they didn't remember that Minnie could talk. Minnie does not say one word, and the reason for it is because the animators involved didn't remember that Minnie could talk. And so that's why it took until 86 for Russi Taylor to come on board. And they go, wait a minute, I think Minnie can talk. We better have somebody who can talk like Minnie. So, I want Mickey to be the star. For me, Mickey was always the star, and especially I think the cartoons of the 30s. You see that. You see Two Gun Mickey. You see Mickey as the brave little tailor and all of that, and by golly, he's the star. But what happens is you bring in these other characters because you're constantly needing springboards for more stories. That's why you bring in nephews and you bring in, the best friend next door and whatever, because that gives you more ideas for stories. But what happens is Mickey just kept fading away and became a corporate icon rather than this living, breathing a character, And so I'm glad there's Mickey's Filler Magic, but I wish he was the one having the adventures rather than Donald. It's always easy to stick Donald in any situation, and you can laugh because he gets so frustrated, and he deserves, getting hit in the head and kicked in the rear and all of that. You have to be more careful with Mickey, but I want Mickey to be flying on that magic carpet. I want Mickey to,
But Jim, your prayers have been answered. Your prayers, because everything you said about bringing in other characters and them sort of sometimes dominating is actually present elsewhere in Walt Disney World, because lest we forget that although we enjoy the music and the scenes and the action from so many other Disney characters and films, the real star of Fantasmic is Mickey, right? Yeah. It's the story of his imagination, his dreams, his battle versus good and evil, again, being that sort of conductor and sorcerer Mickey again.
And I think that's a tremendously a clever show. I prefer the version out in Disneyland. I don't know whether it's because I saw the Disneyland first or because I liked that they refitted the Columbia as Captain Hook's pirate ship, or that they bring out the Mark Twain at the end, with all of that, and that the one out here in Florida was built while Pocahontas was being done, which is why you've got a mountain and you've got all the Pocahontas things in there, and you have kids in the audience going, "Who are those guys?" But I think the Mickey elements are just tremendous. Disney has tried to incorporate Mickey attractions in the park. When Fantasyland was redone in '83 out in California, Ward Kimball came in and had designed a Mickey Mouse attraction ride, which was going to be built, and it was a wild mouse ride, like Primeval Whirl. But basically what happens is you're trapped in a 1930s Mickey Mouse cartoon. And so as you're on this and you've lost your sense of direction of where am I going and what's happening here and all this, you're running into figures and film clips and all this of being in a 1930s Mickey cartoon. And then later, when they were going to build the movie pavilion at Epcot, and they were going to have the Great Movie Moments ride, which I guess is probably one of our best shows ever there. So we should never do any other show. But also in that pavilion was going to be Mickey's Movie Land. And so again, it would be a dark ride. You'd be in a ride vehicle like a Snow White ride vehicle, going through, and you're going through the creation of a 1930s Mickey Mouse cartoon. So you're going through the story department, you're going through the animation department, but again, since it's designed by Ward Kimball, it's all just wacky and wild and all of that. I don't know if that's something. My firm belief is you should always have an attraction that is accessible to everybody of every age, of every physical ability. Don't stick in movement like a rocking mine train car, because some people don't go with that. But I think there should be a Mickey attraction. And again, we should always go to your listeners, because your listeners are the smartest people on earth, because they listen to WDW radio. Should there be a Mickey attraction? And what should that Mickey attraction be? Because, again, we're talking, Mickey is 85 years old, so there's been so many different variations of Mickey. Should it be themed to a Sorcerer Apprentice Mickey attraction, because Sorcerer's Apprentice is so popular? Should it be Mickey through the years? Should it be a Mickey adventure? Should it be great moments of Mickey? I just think, it should be something. And what design do you use? You've got those new 3-minute Mickey cartoons on the Disney Channel now, and the design is completely different. Is this the design that kids think of as Mickey? I'm going on record. I think there should be a Mickey Mouse attraction in a Disney park, and I'm open to suggestions as to what it should look like. What do you think, Lou?
And I think that's what we should leave that we should sort of wrap up and leave the listeners with. Lest we forget, quick mention, we can't forget about Chef Mickey's, right? Another place to meet Mickey Mouse. I remember Chef Mickey's when it was the old Chef Mickey's Village restaurant back in Lake Buena Vista Village, where the rainforest sits.
Boy, you're really old. You're almost as old as Mickey Mouse.
And we can certainly talk about merchandise and hidden Mickeys. Look, Mickey is still incredibly beloved by so many people. And I think you're right. I think this idea of, should there be a Mickey Mouse attraction in the park? What park would you put it in? Mm-hmm. What should it be like? I want you to play Imagineer for the day with unlimited budget and use technology that as you see fit. What I'd love you to do is come to WDWradio.com, click on this week's podcast, leave your suggestion, leave your idea in the show notes there. You can also go to Facebook.com/WDWradio, post it there, or if you want to tweet me, I'm @Lou Mongello. When you're done doing that, right? When you're done sort of brainstorming your imagineering idea for the Mickey Mouse attraction, what I need you to do is check the show notes this week as well, because there I have links to all of Jim's books. The revised Vault of Walt, Who's Afraid of Song of the South,
and just special for Walt Disney World radio listeners, coming out October 1st, it may actually be out September 28th, is Vault of Walt Volume 2, with all brand new stories about Walt and the parks and the films, and it has the most magnificent foreword to the book. Who wrote the foreword, Lou?
Michael Eisner, Mickey Mouse.
Lou Mongello was gracious enough to write the foreword for Vault of Walt Volume 2. It'll be out October 1st. You can order it from Amazon. It's at the printers right now, being printed up. And, what we should do is we should schedule a WDW radio event, a book signing, so you can sign your foreword, and I can sign the other stuff that people aren't interested in, the rest of the book.
Listen, it's all about you, and I'm going to have you come back on. We're going to talk about the book and some of the stories and stuff some more, really help get the word out about the book. Vault of Walt, and I'm not saying it just because I have to and you're here, but Vault of Walt, revised Vault of Walt, is one of my favorite Disney books in my collection, and nobody tells stories the way you do, Jim Korkis. So again, I'm going to link to all those books in the show notes this week so people can head on over to Amazon and get it in print or on their Kindle device. And Jim, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your insight, your history, and waving your cane. And I think it's only appropriate that we end with one of Walt Disney's most famous quotes about his probably most important accomplishment, and that is, I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
There you go, buddy. A great show, as always. Thank you. Looking forward to coming back on again. And thank you for your kindness and for the kindness of all the listeners and all the nice things that you have said. I love sharing information with you because you guys love it so much. Well, I'll see you in the future, Lou.
See you real soon. Time once again for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where I ask you to test your knowledge of Walt Disney World history or trivia, see how well you pay attention to the details and what you see, maybe even what you hear. You can then send in your answer for a chance to win a Disney prize package. Before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week we were talking about the Grand Floridian and all the things that we love about it. And one of the things I love, of course, is the dining. So your question last week was very simple. What does the name of the restaurant Narcoossee's inside the Grand Floridian mean? And again, thanks and congratulations to the hundreds of you who answered who knew that Narcoossee is a Native American term which means baby bear. So again, I randomly selected one entry from all the correct submissions, and last week's winner of the audio tours, a luggage tag, button, and a signed copy of my Walt Disney World Trivia Book Volume 2 is Sharon Blair. So Sharon, congratulations. Get me your information and I will get your package out to you right away. If you played last week and didn't win, thanks again for playing. And don't worry, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. One of my favorite and still classic attractions over at Disney's Hollywood Studios is Jim Henson's Muppet Vision 3D. And in the attraction, Waldo, that computer-generated spirit of 3D, transforms himself at one point into a different character and says, "They'll never recognize me now." So your challenge this week is to tell me what character does Waldo transform himself into? You have 2 weeks to answer this question, so you have until Sunday, September 22nd at 11:59 p.m. to send your answer to contest@wdwradio.com. Again, you'll be playing for all 6 of my virtual audio walking tours of the Magic Kingdom, a WDW Radio luggage tag, button, and another signed copy of my Walt Disney World Trivia Book. Good luck and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks again for taking the time and tuning in this and every week. In addition to the podcast, which you can subscribe to over on iTunes, be sure and come by the website over at WDWRadio.com. There we have multiple daily blog posts, contests, photo galleries, my new Disney In a Minute video series. You can sign up for our free email newsletter for exclusive content, contests, deals, and more. You can also download the free WDW Radio app for your iOS or Android device. You can meet and chat with other Disney fans in our fun, family-friendly discussion forums. Again, there's lots more by visiting WDWRadio.com. Also, be sure and tune in every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for WDWRadioLive.com. I do a live video broadcast and interactive chat every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about this week's Walt Disney World news, and I interact with you guys in the chat room. If you can't catch it live, you can watch it on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/WDWRadio. I'll also put the audio in the iTunes feed as well. I love hearing from you and connecting with you guys as well, too, so you can email me if you have a question you want answered on the show at lou@WDWRadio.com. You can also call the voicemail at 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1 if you want to leave a voicemail, say hello, or ask a question. I'll play it at the end of the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter. I'm at Lou Mongello, and come by our Facebook page at facebook.com/WDWRadio. As much as I love connecting with you online, I think nothing beats a handshake and a hug. That's why I love doing special events, including our Meets of the Month every month in Walt Disney World. Our next meet of the month is actually not going to be Saturday, September 28th. I did push it forward because we're going to make it instead Saturday, October 5th as part of our e-ticket weekend. It is the beginning of the Food and Wine Festival. We have our sold-out private dinner inside the great movie ride on Friday night. But Saturday, we're going to be in Epcot for not just a meet of the month, but a new event that I'm happy to announce. And it's going to be our first ever and our first annual WDW Radio Food and Wine Quest, where you, as an individual or a team, can compete in a fun, family-friendly quest around World Showcase for a chance to win some prizes, have some fun, including winning the soon-to-be-coveted WDW Radio Cup. I'll also put details about the meet of the month both in the blog and at the event page over at WDWRadio.com. Go to our events page there by clicking on the events link at the top of the page, or by going to our Facebook page. You can also get a list of all the upcoming events there as well. We have lots of other great events planned for the rest of this year and in 2014, so definitely stay tuned. Quick thanks to my partners and sponsors, Mouse Fan Travel. As you know, they are my official recommended travel provider, whether you're coming to Disney World, Land, Adventures by Disney, Disney Cruise Line, wherever it may be. Becky and her team of agents give you all available discounts, the best possible prices, more importantly, an incredible level of personal service at no additional cost to you. You can visit them over at mousefantravel.com. And as always, my friends, and you are my friends, whether we have met yet or not, all I ask is that if you like the show, please help spread the word. Let others know about it. Tweet out that you're listening. Share links on Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook, and come by and comment there. And please come by, review the show and the apps over in iTunes as well. It's very, very helpful and very much appreciated. And I, of course, want to say thank you again to all of you for letting me share my passion with you each and every week. And in so many ways, I am incredibly grateful for what you allow me to do. And I want you guys to remember that anything that you dream of is within your reach, right? Anything worth having is worth waiting for. So smile and stay positive. You never know what every new day may bring. And I also need to say, with this week being September 11th, to remember the fallen and honor the heroes and remain united. Be grateful for everything that you have. Love others and have faith. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great week. See ya.
Hi, Lou. It's Happy Keller, coach of the WDW Radio running team. I am currently at Disneyland, where they're running the Disneyland Half Marathon. Many members of the WDW Radio running team are here picking up their half marathon medals, their coast-to-coast medals, and their double dare medals. We got room for many more on the team. All you need to do is go to www.wdwradio.com/running for more information. We're having a great time here, Lou. Wish you were here. Bye.
Hey, Lou. It is Wes Snyder from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Just finishing a 17-hour trip and listened to about a dozen of your podcasts. Had a great time. And I've been thinking, what happens if someone comes up with Disney in 59 seconds? Just a thought. I do love those Disney in a minute. Has a nice ring to it. Hope you're having a great time with the D23. See ya.
Hi, Lou. It's Ellen KH from the forum and from the Box people. I keep missing this. My family and I are down at Walt Disney World now. In fact, I'm on a boat going from the parking lot, the TTC parking lot, over to the Magic Kingdom. So I'm thinking of your show about water, best ways to enjoy Disney on the water. We were in Aolani when you were there. I think we left the day after you got there, so I'm sorry we missed you there. We're down here now dropping my daughter off. You may remember she had been a cast member. She had worked at Jungle Cruise and Hollywood Studios at the American Idol attraction. She's going now to University of Central Florida for a master's in hospitality to follow her dreams, and that is going back to work for Disney. So I wanted to mostly thank you, Lou, for those daily messages you put on Facebook and Twitter about following your dreams. I know they inspire her. They inspire us. We appreciate it. One of these days we'll catch up with you at another meet and greet. It's been a long time. I just wanted to say hi. Thanks so much. Take care. Thanks for all that you do. Glad you're living your dreams. Bye.